had several I've had several people that have said they weren't going to be able to come for whatever reason. So basically, I think Jerry's the show today. And
Da, 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 da.
so,
Yay.
and so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jerry. Do you want me to try to, do you want to pull up the LWVCO principles of voting? Did anybody have a chance to take a look at that? It's pretty straightforward.
Oh yeah, and it's also wonderful. I felt guilty because every time you look at something, you think of something else.
Stop thinking.
Yeah, don't keep at it here.
So the thing I thought of is I think it's some, I don't know if we want big sentences or kind of lump it all together and say, you know, first we have the, what is it, 15, the amendment to everybody has the right to vote, only that wasn't everybody. And was Native Americans that weren't actually granted citizenship until the Snyder amendment in what, 2019. It was quite late. Now I can't remember the date. I put it in the document anyway.
I don't know. Are you able to pull up the principles, Karen?
Well, I'm trying to do that, but now my different screens are shifting in, so I'll keep trying and see.
1924. I just pulled it up.
Oh.
I don't think I'm shareable though.
Yeah, it's list. Well, I think I downloaded that document on my desktop, Karen.
Can you do it?
And I just put it in my elections task folder or task force.
Because what happens with mine is that I wind up getting different screens and then let's see.
But I don't, well, do you want me to call up the Zoom thing or the document?
If you can do it, I don't think it matters who does it, can do it.
Okay, just a second then. I
Making
gotta
you-
go back to my agenda.
Okay, you're a host now, so you can.
Okay, I think I noticed that I could screen share. That's why I offered.
Right. You can do that. That would be helpful.
Okay.
My thinking on this initially is that we just had some sort of a guideline because you could see that there were a number of election topics coming down the road for discussion and how do we evaluate them other than using our overall arching positions. Oh, here comes Jennifer. Good.
I think it's an excellent document.
And what I did too, Jerry, I don't know whether you went and looked at it. There were some suggestions that people had made that were really straightforward. So I just went ahead and accepted them. I figured.
Yeah, there was one that I think it was Jeff Withers suggested that in I think it's the 15th Amendment, right at the first. He said take out sex. Well, then you're rewriting the amendment. If you take that out. So I would put that.
Oh, okay. You want to, if there's something that needs to be
It's in the second line at the very top where it says on account of, and then put sex back in.
Okay.
Because that's why the amendment reads.
Okay.
You have to in here before race.
That's what it's, yeah, that's the way it was.
I think it's on account of sex, comma, race, color, or previous. And there needs to be a space between Congress and shall in that third.
Oh, goodness.
And then I would omit the 19th Amendment to the Constitution because it'll be covered up and above in the 15th Amendment.
Okay, just delete that whole yellow section.
Correct.
Me?
Okay,
Delete the yellow?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Unless anybody disagrees.
Well, I was trying to remember my history on that. How did that happen in the 15th, but then not get there?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened either, Gaithia.
Because I mean, that's the thing with the Native American is that they were just ruled not citizens for a very long time until after World War II when they had fought in World War I.
Well, and the same with the Chinese and the Japanese and the,
Yeah. Well, so then I was also thinking maybe just some statement of that the league has been involved in the battle to make sure this is fully expressed, or and leave out any specific mention to women or other racial groups.
Does it need to be in this? This is a document that's principles of voting. Do we need to add that in order to?
So this is telling me that sex was left out of the 15th Amendment, despite valiant efforts by activists. Now I have to see an actual copy of the Constitution.
I think that's correct. Blacks
Yeah, they passed
vote-
it. This is what the Brennan Institution is saying.
Blacks could vote, but females couldn't.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know.
sex doesn't belong in that first part.
Well, how does it
Yeah, it says-
stand now? How does
I'm
it
looking
stand?
at my 15th.
Well, how could
Amendment.
it say sex and then we have to put the 19th Amendment in there that
Yeah, I
indicate
think they tried and lost.
How
I
does it
just
read
pulled my
now?
Constitution and the 15th
Okay,
says,
good. I
Section
don't
one,
have
section
easy
two.
access to that right now. Can look it up on my phone.
I've got my little Constitution booklet
Oh, good.
in front of
Okay.
me. Section 1 reads, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude."
Right, so it isn't sex there till the
Right.
19th.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I mean, that's about what I would think, but
and then section 2 just says Congress has the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then if we didn't want to mention that later, we didn't want to put the women's right to vote in and then have to list all the others. I just thought it was really bad to list everything except Native American, which is one of the big large groups that was denied. But how do we want to get, is there just one sentence that says a continuing battle to make sure that that is fully expressed as for all citizens, or?
Where is it? Is there a place now where it's more where it's more inclusive, where Sacs, Native Americans, other
people of color.
people of color, is there something now that is a document that's been created and been passed where all of that is included, rather than listing iterations?
I think you could cite the Voting Rights Act, but then that got withdrawn. So I mean, that's where we are fighting back again.
What about the voting rights of 65? I don't know. I don't have the memory or the materials close enough to,
Well, we can put the 19th back in.
I think we should actually.
Okay,
I'll just put it in here and then we can, as a
Okay.
reminder.
Well, then I would push for saying other groups such as Native Americans who weren't granted citizenship, because that was the issue with the Asian groups, was they weren't granted citizenship.
I'm making notes. I'm not making the
Yeah.
what if you use
Statement.
the term ethnic groups?
okay, ethnic. Well, it's also people, women of color.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's correct or not, but
yeah. I mean, think about it.
I'll just put insert.
Yeah,
It needs wording. It needs
Yeah.
help. Like, I mean, our faces cover up the part where we put comments on the side.
And then the citizen right to vote was taken from the program book. And LWVUS expanding voter access. That's on their website under voting. Seemed to be a general statement.
I have to think this through. It seems like
Yeah.
there's the legal things that establish that right to vote, and then there's our principles that say we believe these are
Right.
things we
We have
believe
to keep
be
fighting
true.
to get it actualized.
Yeah.
Well, so are you wanting to include a timeline that lists when each group was able to, obviously states.
Was
are-
granted that right.
Obviously states are trying to make voting harder, but they, at this point, can't restrict people from voting. They can't restrict you from voting if you're a woman, if you're a Native American, if you're a Black, if you're Asian. I don't think. I could be wrong about that because I live here.
Well, some of the voter suppression is obviously targeted.
Right.
So I just think it needs maybe a line that says that continuing to fight to make sure that full citizenship rights and voting rights are extended
Or
to all.
continue.
I'd
Yeah.
limit this to voting rights because this is a principle that's voting. not-
Okay, but well, somehow it's the Native Americans not being citizens that caused them not to vote.
Well, but there's.
So then you'd have to mention the Snyder Act to say they became citizens, and then you get into the how they're suppressed now because we don't get polls out to the reservations, which is a separate issue. That's the suppression part now. But I think the Snyder
Oh,
Act is
exactly.
as significant to Native Americans as the amendments on women's right to vote or the rights of African Americans. I think it's wrong to leave it out.
Well, I think it's good to specify it and identify it. That is, we're working to make sure everybody's included.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you list those then, Barb, as they've been mentioned? And then
What-
and the language
What I,
tweaked.
where's my little bullets? Do I have little bullets anywhere on here? Okay, what are they? They were, was it Black? Do you want Black women or you want women of color?
I like women of color.
Okay, I do too. I don't know. Well, what did I do that I can't type?
Oh, at the
The
very.
way you're editing or commenting.
I'm just, oh, yeah, I don't know. I got ear faces all over the place. Oh, it's native, it's probably. For Hispanics, was that ever a problem?
I consider them women of color as well.
Well, I would think so, but
Well, you have the men as well.
I mean, by the time we start identifying everybody, things are going to change
That's true.
in terms of recognition of.
who and,
Yeah. So I would keep it general.
okay,
Well,
well, I'll just put this in parentheses. We've talked about it.
You said down here, under the second paragraph, under LWV, US expanding voter access, you said voting is a fundamental principle and all Americans deserve the equal opportunity to make their voices heard in our democracy. And that the league is dedicated to using advocacy, litigation, education, etc.
I'll just scroll down, so if there's other things
You
that
know, in
people,
that set paragraph that Karen was discussing,
right here, yeah.
First line, second
Yes.
paragraph. Voting is a fundamental principle in all Americans. I would say all American citizens, because that's always the hitch.
That's a good point, yeah. That'll get us in trouble.
That doesn't mean we can't change it in 5 years or 10 years or whatever.
Right. No, I think that specificity is important.
Let me scroll down a little more, Barb, and see if there was.
Okay.
And of course, we keep in mind that this is Colorado. It doesn't necessarily apply to
Yeah.
Others.
only to other states. Are we ready to accept this that's in pink here?
Oh, I think so.
Be alert to public processes and, okay.
And what would those be? As an example.
I think that would include things like are going on in other states where you have limited windows in which you can register to vote. You have limited opportunity to be able to cast a vote.
Or you need IDs and that sort of thing.
Well, I wouldn't say ID because you do have to have an ID, but things.
Picture, I guess it's picture IDs that everybody.
Things that are
Photo ID, yeah.
to really make it.
Yeah,
hard,
well, that, yeah,
narrow the window and make it harder to be able to.
I got it. Okay. Do we want to be alert to them or do we want to just not even? We want to do something about them?
How about be vigilant to
Or protect against or,
Well, there's that one addition there that says be alert to public policy processes that discourage or do not include voting. Maybe we
Yeah.
need, instead of discourage, limit access to voting.
yeah, it's something I wanted to be more proactive than just be alert to it,
Yeah, yeah.
is what I'm thinking. We want to put discourage public policy processes that do not include.
I would say, I'll give this a try and you guys can take it apart.
Okay,
It's be alert to public policy processes that limit access to voting in all, in all. Maybe stop after.
I didn't get the first part of that, Jerry.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's what's already there. Be alert to public policy processes that.
Yeah.
And then I would take off the rest part and say that limit access to voting of all citizens.
Okay,
processes that, okay, so processes that limit access to voting by all citizens, by all
Yeah.
Colorado citizens.
Access or
Well,
involvement, did you say?
well, stop.
No, stop.
I know, my computer wasn't stopping.
Yeah. Be alert to public policy processes that discourage.
Oh, I would take out discourage that
or
limit
That limit,
that limit access.
access to voting for all Americans.
Well, this is Colorado's, isn't it?
Well, to all Colorado voters.
Okay, that limit
All
access.
Colorado citizens, I guess. I
Access to
should-
voting for all Colorado citizens.
Mm,
Mhm.
Trying to think of something other than alert, but I haven't come up
me
with.
too.
Yeah. Aware?
Guard against public policies that.
Yeah. So that we're doing something. If we're just going,
Yeah,
oh. we're
Exactly,
aware.
not just kind of watching it and going, oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
guard against public policies that are public processes that.
Yes, now we got it.
Okay,
Good.
I have a question about that, sort of. There's a move to change primaries. Primaries right now are where the decision is often made because the general election is so slanted one way or for one party or the other. And we took out voters took out letting almost 18-year-olds vote in primaries. Do we want to, I mean, to me, that's a limit access to voting for Colorado voters. If we have partisan primaries and we don't let almost 18-year-olds vote in the partisan primary, we've limited access. They don't get to vote in the general.
Well,
I
but
mean, they
that's-
can vote in the general, but it doesn't matter.
Well, we did oppose that amendment.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think we'd want to continue to work for that, but I don't think it belongs in this document as a point.
Right.
that's a good example of the kind of thing we need to guard against, Celeste.
Yeah.
I like, at least I'm gonna put guard.
That's a good, yeah.
Guard is a
I
good
like
word.
it. It means that we want to do something about it, not just watch it.
Yes.
And this is always open for.
Yep.
I just felt against good. My computer did it for me.
Okay. Anything else that you all are seeing that?
I don't know, something about this sentence about regular review, a plan of putting out. Do you want to distribute? Putting
Yeah.
out, how do you want it? What's
It
putting
seems
out
awkward.
for accurate information? Do you want to distribute it? Do you want to educate people about it? Notify people? You can put it out anywhere and nobody's going to pay attention to it.
Maybe you should be publicizing accurate information.
Thank
about-
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds better. Putting didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have a.
That sounds good.
I gotta find the spell check here. This is my least competent ability.
You're doing way ahead of me, Barb.
Well, I have to tell you, I was always happy Jane did it when we have our governance committee, and now
Where's
Well-
Jane when we need her?
yeah, where is she? Okay.
Finalizing.
I review a plan for publicizing. I like that. That sounds like it has a little bit more oomph to it.
So it's PUBLI.
It's CIZING.
Hang on, I just had it and then my PUBLICIZING.
Right.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah, well, it said it was okay once
All right.
I clicked the spelling thing part of it. Bolster election information with training.
Can I go back to that end of that same sentence?
Sure.
Starting well before election day, and I see this as ongoing.
Okay.
So starting well before election day and
No,
beyond.
I just say this should be an ongoing process. Or
Yeah.
is it election review a plan for publicizing information about the election process and preempting disinformation throughout the election, throughout the election year. Through
Well,
But
you're
we have an
During-
election every year.
every year, year round.
should be an ongoing process.
And
Okay.
ongoing, yeah.
Finalizing and regularly reviewing a plan for publicizing accurate information about the election process. and preempting disinformation should be ongoing.
There
Okay,
you go.
oops. Period.
Is that what you wanted to say, Jerry? Is that?
Yes,
Do we want to indicate that we want adequate state resources in this thing before I erase anything?
No, I don't think so.
Take
well,
out
all of
just,
this could take adequate state resources.
Maybe there should be a standalone sentence that says this will require adequate state resources.
There you go.
okay,
And
So ongoing period, and then this will require.
good job, Barb.
thank you. Oop, this thing races pretty fast.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's- And I think it's hard to type in front of somebody. It's-
tiny,
And
bolster
by
elec-
state, do we mean adequate state league resources or,
I think state resources, I don't think it's the league that's responsible for doing
I
that.
mean, we can't do all this by our lonesome.
No.
No,
I think these are state resources. This is something that's
Okay.
responsibility of the state.
As long as I know what we're talking about.
Well, how do the rest of you feel?
well, it's Secretary of State's office. I think it's the state.
Well, and
That
the
has-
blue- the
It to
blue
help
book
in
is
this,
state.
It's state resources, wherever they choose to take those funds from,
Yeah.
whether they assign them to the Secretary of
does it take also local resources? Local government resources?
You know, let me ask a question about that. Maybe Jerry and Tony, you know better. Is most of this done at the state level? This isn't something that's left to the individual counties, is it?
The individual what?
Or
In
is
the
it?
conversation that I'm sorry, Jerry, were you speaking?
No, go ahead.
In the conversations that I have been hearing is that it's at least county,
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
and they have to
Because-
buy machines and they have to do,
But there was a bill that just passed, was it this year? Or I think it was this year, which is reimbursing the counties for a lot of money. The county clerks were thrilled with that bill. Maybe it was last year.
Well, I guess we need to check
both.
out what percentage they have to do.
Well, I'll say, I know our county clerk has a whole section of mis and disinformation that they posted on their website and that they worked on it locally. I don't think it's something that's consistent across all counties. But I know that they have worked on a section that talks about mis and disinformation in elections.
Okay. So is everybody happy with that now?
I am.
Me too.
I think we need to go to the one above though. That channeling, word channeling continues to bother me.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
like channeling. How about resolving?
Be
There.
election disputes.
And there was a comment about, what
Ew.
exactly are we talking about in terms of resolving election disputes? Did it mean at the polling place? Did it mean, tabulation? Did it mean whatever?
What about strengthening laws resolving elections disputes through the state or at the with the state judiciary? Is that what the desire is, that if there is a dispute, that who is it that finally decides that? Is that something that,
Well, I wonder if it isn't the district attorney.
well, you know, with the question about the 18-year-olds being able to
That
vote,
was the state.
he made that decision, did he not?
And any fraud cases, of which there are very few, all get referred to the DA.
So maybe we should say should be directed to the DA's office. To the
Either
state.
that or the state attorney.
to-
The
to
state judiciary, it doesn't go directly to a court case, does it?
So
To
it
the
would be,
legal, how about to the legal system?
That sounds better. How about county? I mean,
but it's
To the appropriate legal system, maybe that's where it goes.
through the appropriate legal system.
Yes,
Okay.
unless somebody can think of a better phrase there.
Well, traditionally, where does that sit? I mean, is that,
does it go to for the county, does it go to the county district, or the district attorney there? Or does it go up to the,
You know, I can think of cases
This-
where all levels have been involved.
okay,
So keeping it general, I mean, there was a problem down in Chaffey County a few years ago. And the Secretary of State had to step in and go over that. I can't remember the circumstances. I know fraud cases are always referred to the DA. Disputes about ballot issues end up at the Colorado Supreme Court.
are you saying though, Jerry, that in some cases the Secretary of State's office settles those? So it's not always the judiciary system,
Well, they settled the dispute that was going on down there.
but it was through the Secretary of State rather than the legal system. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, and I
So-
don't remember my memory is just so cloudy on that.
So this dispute through appropriate governmental bodies then.
they're appropriate.
Because,
Probably a more recent case that we followed was the Mesa County, Tina Peters situation.
well, and it was Secretary of State that pulled her out.
And the DA stepped in and
Yeah.
the county commissioners stepped in and, it was government entities.
Yeah, I think that's better. So they should be through the
Appropriate government entities.
Yeah. With let's see. And set clear standards. With clear standards established for how these disputes are resolved.
Excellent.
So delete the and the set. Yeah.
Boy, you're pushing my brain cells today.
You go in front of go to and set, delete and set,
And what?
delete the words and set
Okay,
and replace it with the word with.
how's
On,
that?
and then delete the word governing. Established on how these disputes are resolved. Okay, how does that sound?
And that's broad enough that we could lobby on.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sanders election. The appropriate governance with clear standards establishing how these, yep.
Good job, everybody.
Whew.
All right, is there anything else?
I think I'm good with this.
I'm good for right now, and we need to just go up and rethink how this introduction piece
Yeah.
is.
I
Yeah,
will tell you what, you all have the link to this. when you go in the upper right-hand corner, it mentions editing. Be
Mhm.
sure that any editing that you do is done under suggested edits. You don't see it on the screen that Barb is showing you here, but when you go to Google Docs and pull it up that way, they're up in the far upper right-hand corner, you'll see editing. So be sure that any edits you make are suggested, but everybody go in and the link is in your agenda, so you can go in and look and see the changes that were made today will be present, so you don't have to worry about, or at least they should be, so you don't have to worry about remembering those. And if there are other things that you think of, additions that need to be made, gave you suggested certain, certain acts or legislation you think really needs to be included, then add that, and then we can kind of clean it up a little bit and present it for, I'll try to, if you guys can do that over the next few days, then I'll try to go back and send it out to folks far enough in advance that they have some time to look at it, make additional suggestions, so that maybe the next time around we can actually be done with this.
Okay,
Does that sound like does that work for everybody?
well, don't give us a deadline. Don't say in several days,
Well, well, today's Thursday.
How
right?
about Monday morning.
Have it done by Monday.
Yeah, something. I gotta have,
I'm gonna add to my calendar to go in and check it on Tuesday.
okay. So we have to do it by Monday.
So I'm gonna go in on the 25th and Colorado voter doc to deliver to,
June 24th, because the 25th
Do we need
is
sort
the,
of a closing statement? Maybe just something like this document reflects the ongoing activities of the League of Women Voters of Colorado as it relates to elections and voting, and
right, so some kind of closing and kind of cleaning up the intro part.
okay, if you have changes, make those. You
Okay.
can add whatever you want to, and on Tuesday, I'm sending it out. I'm sending it out, it's in my calendar. All righty. Any other questions? Or things
Nope.
people think about as they look at, okay. All right, Jerry. And actually Barb's here, and so she can
hey,
probably.
yes, Barb too,
As well.
Okay,
free form it.
CD4 recently had 2 candidate forums for their candidates for the representative. So I talked to Jerry, and she's going to give us some behind the scenes stuff, and Barb can chime in as she feels needed.
And Barb too, and Carol Ayers, who's usually here, has a local league retreat today, so, but she was very instrumental in working on it as well.
yeah, she was.
Yes. Well, we started when we recognized that CV4 was going to have a fairly active candidate situation. And started, I guess, with Ken Buck's resignation when we sort of became aware of things were going to be changing. We formed a committee of anyone who was interested. Barb was at the end of February, early March.
Yeah, I think it was near the end of February.
And then we continued to meet every other week, every 2 weeks, until it was time for the forums to take place, which we had scheduled for May 29th and May 30th. Everybody had an active role in putting the forums together. The first thing we had to do was really just, well, we decided to do it as an electronic forum. So it was a webinar. And the state office was very good about coordinating all of that. And from there, we had to wait until the candidates were pretty well firmed up and established, so who was on the ballot. And that was the end of April. And Barb, jump in anytime if I'm
Sure.
overlooking anything.
Yeah.
once we had a list of candidates, then we had to find how to contact them and reach out to them, as well as develop a letter of invitation and all that sort of things. So those two things happened simultaneously, pretty much. Having been the one to try to find the contact information, I'm here to tell you that candidates were not very helpful in putting their information on their website, which I found interesting. About half of them said contact me through my website by email. So for those of you working on a candidate form, you have to hope that they're going to have somebody that will look at those emails and check their websites. And that did not happen in about half the cases. So we had to go through other methods and detective work to contact them and find them. Meanwhile, Barb, did you work on the invitation letter?
Yes, I did. And I mean, we'd been working on updating some models for candidate forums and trying to have something available. So when rest of the league different leagues put on candidate forums, they have a model to go by. I think the first thing we hammered out, I think Jerry and you and I and Carol and maybe somebody else were really to finalize the rules. I mean, everybody has a set of rules someplace that they've used, but we really tried to codify, so to speak, a set of rules. And then I know we tried to then align the letter to make sure it was consistent with the rules that we had set up, make sure they were included with the invitation letter. So everybody was all on the same page. The next step was really aligning the script to make sure that was consistent. So now we have some materials that are all pretty much aligned from the forum rule, general rules, and sometimes timing is going to have to be adjusted with other things, but we sorted out the timing because one of the real challenges was, one forum for the Republicans could have had a maximum of 6, and we only had 3 for the Democrats, and we were trying to balance the time and the questioning between the two, so it was somewhat equal. And we didn't show any kind of favoritism. So
And I'm going to back up just a second too, Barb.
Sure.
We put together some co-sponsors,
Right.
which was very helpful. And we used Colorado Community Media, which is now going to go by another name. But CTNL, and I can't think what that stands for.
I don't either. I don't have my folder here.
I don't either. Anyway, the editor was very actively involved in helping, meeting with us every 2 weeks. And Barb recruited KUNC. So those were the 2 primary media sponsors, as well as AAUW and El Seminario.
Mhm.
And I think I've got all of them now.
I think you do too.
Oh, yeah, there was one of the.
There's oh gosh, that
Pro
group up
15?
here.
Is it Pro 15?
Pro 15, yes.
Yeah, it's sort of a loosely organized chamber of commerce for a collection of the rural counties. So worked with all of those, and they helped to publicize it. We sent our invitation out in early May, 2 days after Channel 9. And Channel 9 had already sent their invitation to the Republicans for the same day that we did, at the same time. So that was one thing. And how you find that out ahead of time, I have no idea. It's just one of those things that happen. But it's kind of keeping your ear to the ground. So we had to move the Republican forum to the following week. So that was kind of one little snafu that we had. We pulled everybody together. The forum was to begin on air at 6:30, and we pulled everybody together at 6 o'clock for whatever has to happen. Make sure we had all the candidates for start. And the the Democratic one was the first one on May 29th. That came off without a hitch in my estimation.
Yeah, really, it really truly did. Yeah.
Really, really well done. And the Republic one, one thing you want to put together is a committee to smile and dial to get these people that don't respond to your information or to your invitation. So I think like 2 days before the Republican forum, we only had like 2 responses out of 6. Well, we had Lauren Bolbert who said she was unable to be there because she was traveling back to Colorado. So now we're down to 5. We ended up with 4, but it was still like the morning of, we were tracking down with the last participant.
And trying to get everybody the right access to the Zoom webinar
Yes.
links and everything.
Yeah, I never could get on. I ended up going in through, we had 2 ways to get into the webinar. One for, I'll call us the staff side, and then the public side to get in. And I could not get in through the staff side. So I went in through the public side. I could not do my job, so I had to turn it over to Barb. You were one.
Yeah, it was Kathleen Milligan and I, because we're the only ones of the committee. For some unknown reason, our links fed into, as the committee all had, the support committee all had links to be part of that team, the presenter side, so to speak. And for some reason, people couldn't get into that, or they couldn't get into the forum itself, either behind the scenes or as a participant. And then we had one of the candidates' truck broke down, and he was running back to the Capitol to see if he could get on this. And then other people were having trouble getting on. So long story short, we didn't start till 15 minutes late, and everybody was a little stressed. And I was helping, Kathleen and I were helping, hopefully screen audience questions, of only which we got one. And and that was about the LGBTQ issues in the Republican Party. However, that we asked, we cleaned it up a little bit, and we got some interesting answers. I'll have to say, people handled that head on in their opinions about how that should go with the party anyway. But the people we had on, I felt, were really forthcoming with their answers, and I think we had a good set of questions. And once we got started, I think it went off really well, but it was pretty stressful for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I do know I called Jane and talked to her, and there were some buttons she needed to set prior to the beginning of it. And once we got started, she couldn't turn it off and go back and reset those buttons. So, but she knows what they are for the future. That's all I can say.
But all the principals were able to hear each other and work, and
Right.
Too bad for the rest of us.
Do you think it work better to have the Democrat candidates do a candidate forum one evening and then a week later the Republicans, or would it have been just because there were so many candidates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our concern of how the viewers, we had to think about how much time and how many hours or time people would spend watching, even if we did the Democrats for like a half hour or 45 minutes, but then it gets long.
I think we did an hour and 15 minutes for the Dems and an hour and a half for the Republicans,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. And I will say, and this is my first rodeo with having dual moderators, and we had to sort that out, and I hadn't had that experience, but it went really well. Well, both of them are very skilled and talented in radio announcing and things like that, so they really picked up on it really quickly. But it was nice to have them. I will say, Jerry, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more, that with her group, her league worked with the community press group in sending out questions to the candidates that they were going to publish in the newspapers in that district. You can tell me, I think a lot of the candidates really, so they were answering the same questions for us as they were for 411, So there wasn't a duplication of efforts where they had to spend more time answering questions from both.
There was a lot of work, but
It was a lot of work. It was fun because we did it across about 3 leagues, I think.
yes,
Greeley, Arapahoe, Douglas, and Larimer. We could never get a hold of somebody to help from Adams County. But we had some input from both KUNC and the news person down in
Michael DeYoana.
yeah, Michael. And he's really hot on all the mis and disinformation. I think with both of those sponsors, we need to continue a strong partnership with them because
Yep.
they cover a lot of communication space along with CD4.
Was there any effort made to, because it's hard to do, it's hard to fact check when you have a forum going on, but was there any effort made or did you have the ability when they were just blatant misinformation that was being shared to be able to say that? Just a minute.
We talked about it, Karen. It was we just need somebody who really has the background and the expertise.
Yeah.
And that takes another set of coordination. I will say, with all the moving parts of putting on a candidate forum, plus now when you're doing things live, it really takes some tight coordination. And it does take somebody. Not that we didn't talk about it, and certainly we had the people who might have been able to help us with that. But I think it's important because we're still talking about, should we talk, somebody said, you want to have a red light go on when we know somebody's lying. And I mean, really, but I think we would really need to work on that.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't recall that we had any disinformation.
You thought the candidates pretty much stuck to the truth in their responses.
Well, they stuck to their truth.
There's a difference between misinformation, disinformation, and opinion.
Yes.
Well, therein lies the issue, huh?
Right.
It's my facts.
But
That's how I see the world. Well, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of really excited to kind of see what happens with the CD4. I'm not in CD4 anymore, but with that race and what happens, with the special election. And we talked about doing something with the special election, but we just ran out of time and energy.
Have you guys thought about maybe contacting Channel 9 and seeing if they would be willing to partner with the league for a candidate forum before the general election?
I think Jill Smith contacted Channel 9. They said they'd help publicize it. And they had their Republican forum the same night we had picked out. So
well, my thought is if you contacted them right now, are they just adverse to doing that? I would think they'd want to partner with the league.
Well, I don't know. Beth has worked really hard in the past trying to get one of the TV channels, like especially, and I think Gary, didn't you used to work with Channel 7 sometime? I mean, it was Channel 7.
Channel 7.
Yeah, ABC or something. I don't know. I think they like to run their own show. Actually, that's my opinion.
Yeah. I was pleased with all the Republican responses to the LGBTQ statement.
I was too, Jerry. I really was. I agree.
If I can just paraphrase, they all just said that, and this was after a comment from the GOP leadership about burning your pride or something.
Their pride flag.
Pride flag. And they all basically said, that's Republican leadership. It's not Republicans.
Yep. And we want everybody's welcome in our party.
That's nice to hear.
So anyway, I think that wraps it up unless you have some questions or comments.
Okay. Well, couple of our folks had to leave because they had other commitments. So
Yes, I know.
Our numbers are diminishing here.
Okay.
So Great.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Barb.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Tony, you'd like to share or? Okay. All righty, well, the next meeting is the next meeting is the 18th of July. I'm gonna have to double check on that because we're planning on going to California and I might not be back by then, so,
And we will probably be out of town.
okay.
so-
Well, I'm wondering if maybe we should just not have a July
Take a
meeting.
summer break. Yes.
Is that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, then I'll just cancel the July meeting and we'll take it up again in August then. Perfect.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
all-
things ought to be ripping and roaring by then.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, all righty. well,
Okay, thank you.
You all enjoy the rest of your day.
All
You
right,
too.
thanks,
Thank you.
Karen.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.